Welcome to the Turning Lemons into Lemonade podcast. Each week, your host, Amy Mewborn, business strategist and advisor, will bring you the stories of how successful women entrepreneurs turn their tragedies into triumphs to create the businesses that are changing the world today. And now, your host, Amy Mewborn.
Stefanie B. McAuliffe is the author of The Message in the Bottle, Finding Hope and Peace Amidst the Chaos of Living with an Alcoholic. Formerly in a 27-year career on Wall Street, her mission is now to break the stigma, silence, and shame associated from living with an alcoholic. As the fourth generation of women affected by living around the disease, she knows firsthand how it affects families. And as a speaker and guide, she shares her knowledge and wisdom, inspiring women to break free of the shadow and often unseen negative energy carried from living around alcoholism. Welcome, Stefanie. Thank you so much for being here. We're recording this for the second time because I'm a moron, but I'm really glad that you were willing to sit down with us again. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity for a redo. Because I think we always think of things after the fact that we want to say or could have said, or things change. And so it's all perfect.
Good.
How I got into my business is because I grew up around alcoholics. I lived with them. This is what I based my book on. And my mission now is to help break the silence and stigma and shame associated with living with an alcoholic. So this is what I speak about. This is, again, what my book is about. And I now have a program where I help women break the chains that are so often associated from living with an alcoholic. So it's from life experience. And I know how alone I felt for so many years because alcoholism is such an isolating disease. I don't want anyone to ever feel as alone as I did.
That's a really big mission in life. I mean, you know, a lot of times we start our businesses because we found that there was a need for what we offer, what we're passionate about. But that is a really big mission. That's not just something where we're like, oh, well, I think I could teach marketing really well. I mean, you're really talking about impacting lives. So tell me a little bit about your program.
So the name of my program is Reclaiming Yourself. And because so often when we've grown up with or lived with alcoholics, we feel like we've lost a piece of ourselves. There's so much we do to try to help the person who's affected that we don't pay attention to ourselves. We forget about our self-care, or we'll wind ourselves up so much in the things that we do that we really forget about us.
Wow.
And so this is a 12-week program that takes women through the medicine wheel, which is based on Native American Indian culture. And we start in the South, where it is really starting to uncover the things that we fill up our days with that we don't need anymore. And the South is red. We move into the West, which is black, which is the void. So now that we've created space, it's diving into what are the things that really aren't serving me anymore? What are my old patterns? What are the old stories? What are more of the things I need to let go of? And how do these tie together? I have a client who's just jumping into week 5, and it's all about how our pain is manifested in our body. Our emotions and the situations that cause them. So then after the void, they go up into the north, which is white, which is wisdom. So now that they've spent 6 weeks diving into what sometimes the hard stuff that many of us have run away from for many, many years, as I did, it's now seeing the patterns, because once we recognize the patterns, then we can make the conscious choice to let go of it. And know that this toothache is associated with a certain thing, or this pain in my back, or the heaviness on my shoulders. Because we've shown through reflexology, and there's a lot of other scientific evidence out there right now of the mind-body connection. Mm-hmm. And then once they've done the few weeks in the north in white, it's then moving over to the east, which is yellow, and it's illumination. So it's now making decisions based on how they want to move forward in their lives, based on what they want for themselves, not based on I'm running from something, I'm hiding from something, or an emotional reaction to something. It's all based on their values and what they want for themselves. And it's pretty powerful.
So first of all, it is obvious to me that we were supposed to re-record this interview because I would say about 3 weeks ago, I went and did the Landmark Forum with one of my girlfriends. And I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I've heard of it, but I've not gone.
But it is a lot of very, very similar principles. And it's a lot of the things that happened to us in our lives, and then the stories we've created around them. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of those stories end up being that we're not worthy, or we're unlovable, or all of those things that we maybe have brought on, these bad things that have happened to us, or, that we're continuing to perpetuate a lot of similar habits. And you've just described kind of this entire circle that we went through over the course of that weekend. And one of the things that we were kind of left with was that if those stories aren't true, then you really have the power to create a new future for yourself from a completely different place. Yes. And that's something that I've learned a lot about myself recently. And that has nothing to do with alcoholism or any of the specific things going on in your program, but it does really point to, I think, a kind of the human condition and the fact that we all have this. And, there's no shame for any one of us. And I'm so glad that you're creating something and putting something out in the world to help people understand that just because you came from a place doesn't necessarily mean that has to be your future.
Oh, it doesn't have to be at all. And one of the things that I focus on is women who have been to Al-Anon and or therapy and still feel stuck. I mean, Al-Anon's a wonderful program. Mm-hmm. I went for years, and it helped give me some clarity when I was living in the midst of my chaotic relationship with my second husband. However, Al-Anon was created over 65 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so it was based on principles of that time, and there wasn't as much understanding of the energy that we carry. Mm-hmm. And so what I focus on is the energy. And so we do oracle card readings during our weekly one-on-ones. I'm sending them Reiki, my clients Reiki, when I'm working with them, because I'm a Reiki master as well. Mm-hmm. And so it really is, it's focusing on, because sometimes when we're in the midst of trying to figure things out, we'll go into our logical mind, which is our left brain, mm-hmm. and we'll try to reason it out. Well, sometimes reasoning doesn't always work. And so it is understanding the energy. And so in doing these oracle card readings, it taps into sometimes what we can't see intuitively because we're so wrapped up in the monkey mind. Right. And so it's really helped my clients. And I pull cards for myself every morning. Because it's not, and they're not predictive. They're more prescriptive. It's guidance. It's, what am I not paying attention to? Or like today, for instance, I actually have my card here. I pulled the risk card.
Okay.
And this is all about taking a leap of faith.
I love it.
And so, I'm moving to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I made the decision a week ago, yet I haven't done anything about it. Uh-huh. Yes. And so this is, all right, it's time to call the realtor, because as long as we sit in this space of indecision, or this space of feeling stuck, or this space of not moving, mm-hmm. our lives will not change.
Wow. Well, you just described, I think, how a lot of us have all been trained to think logically and to look for the solution. And a lot of times, really, if you just will take a few moments to step back and just kind of experience what's coming at us, there's so much more clarity in just being present in the moment than there is in sitting down. And I'm a list girl, and I'm finding that, I've incorporated meditation into my daily mornings. And I just noticed that I'm so much better able to handle things when I'm taking care of my inner self, not just my outer self. And when I spilled water on my computer, my husband, I called him and he's like, "You're handling this exceptionally well." Because I'm like this type A girl that to me, everything is a really big deal. And I'm like, thank goodness for meditation, because I basically just shut the computer and I went and I sat down. I'm like, okay, here's where I need to be this moment. And, it's amazing how when we take the time to pay attention, things start to show up.
Yes. And there was nothing you could do other than maybe stick it in a big bag of rice, which may have absorbed some of the water. But for the most part, you saw there really wasn't anything to do. So we always have a choice. Yeah. And sometimes it is a benefit to get upset or vocalize, because when we hold the emotions in, it doesn't do us any good. And that's that mind-body connection again of the aches and pains and headaches and whatnot. But meditation is wonderful because it's when we can quiet the mind, even for 10 minutes a day. It's amazing how it sets the stage sometimes for the rest of our day.
Oh, it is night and day. And last week I was at a conference and I didn't get to it at all week long. And I found that as soon as I got back to it, I was much more at peace. I was way less worried. Now, it was like I almost felt tired at first, though. And I don't know if it was, just kind of my body going through this decompression after having a number of days off. But it was just totally refreshing to get back into a routine. And as much as I love to travel, as much as I love conferences, I have my morning and my daily routine here at home. And whenever I get away from it, I find that my life just feels way more chaotic and way less peaceful.
Yeah, it's incredibly centering. And even sometimes as much as just laying in bed at night before you go to sleep and thanking the day. And then sometimes it's cutting the cords to the people that you dealt with, and even on Facebook and social media and phones and and emails, because we're leaking power all the time. Anytime we're having a conversation, we go to the mall and we see all these people. Are there ever times when you go to the mall and you feel completely drained?
Sure.
And it's because of all the chaos. So at the end of the day, you can actually say, I cut the cords to all the people and all the dialogues I've had, and I call back my power now.
Oh, I love that.
And it's amazing at how much actually will come. And if you hold your hands over your abdomen, which is your second and third chakra, which is our power and creativity, it's almost like you can feel the power coming back into you. And you are just cutting those cords. So that's even when you're away, anywhere, 2 minutes before you go to sleep. And it's just calming.
Yeah.
And it's pulling you back to you. And because we give away so much of ourselves during the course of the day.
I love that. I just think that is brilliant, and I'm absolutely going to do that. One of the things that I do in my evening is, as I'm laying in bed, I always go through my gratitude, all of the things that I'm grateful for. And, my husband, my home, my family, all of these things that I've often taken for granted. And I will say that there is nothing like rolling over and going to sleep and just being grateful for all of the blessings because, life isn't perfect. It's not perfect for a lot of us.
No, it's not.
But, you can look at life way differently when you're looking at it from all of the great things that we're experiencing versus losing the energy over some of the negative that I said. I'm often a worrier. So for me, I just find that if I'm grateful, then I worry a lot less.
Yes. And this again is the choice of how do we want to perceive the day? Because even when I saw someone's video the other day and it really resonated with me. She said, really, there's no right or wrong. It's all information. And I can make a choice that will lead me down a path that at some point I may need to make another choice to course correct or go a different way. But if I never took that first step, I'm never going to be led down that path. Yeah. And so everything that we do in every situation we're in is information.
Wow.
And that's some of what we cover in Reclaiming Yourself, because we could always play Monday morning quarterback and use present day knowledge on a decision that we made yesterday or a month or 3 years ago. That doesn't do us any good, and all it does is really, that was a great way for me to beat myself up.
Wow. Well, from a selfish perspective, I'm hoping that one day you will expand this course to be something beyond women or spouses of alcoholism or people that have been touched by that. Because I will tell you that as you're speaking, I just feel like there are so many lessons that can be learned by so many people, especially women, about how we deal with challenges during the day, how we deal with our spouses, how we deal with our families, how we deal with ourselves. So, I love that. So tell me.
I wanted to qualify. I specialize with women who lived with an alcoholic, but to your point, this does apply to more broadly. So if this is really resonating with someone, they're free to reach out to me.
Well,
because anyone who's in this situation, who is ready to, they can't figure out why they're stuck. I'd love to talk with them.
I love that. And I'm really glad you said that, because I know that in our audience, that's going to be probably a fairly large amount of women that are stuck in a place in their life, and they aren't certain why they're stuck there, and they aren't certain how they got there. And, when you're sitting there and you're looking around and you're like, I just don't know how I got here. I don't know why I'm here, and I don't know how to get out of it. The only way out of it is often to have someone else come in and give you a completely different perspective, because otherwise, like we were talking about, you sit here and you go into your own head, and it's really hard to find your way out of that.
Oh, yeah. And I was that way, years ago when I was working on Wall Street and married to an alcoholic and managing an $85 million program and working a gazillion hours and commuting. And sometimes it was, and then I had the gardens and everything else. And I filled my days up with so many things I didn't allow myself to think. And I see so many people that applies to, because it's like they don't want to deal with the other stuff. So let me fill it up with these other things.
It is amazing that you said that, because as I did the forum, I did it with one of my very best friends. And that was one of my big takeaways, is that one of my ways of coping with stress is that I have always considered myself an achiever. So because of that, one of my stories is that I'm more valuable when I'm achieving, when I'm doing, when I'm getting something done. And so frequently, if I've gotten everything done during the course of my business day that needed to get done, I will often look around for busy projects because I feel like I'm supposed to, instead of being like, you know what, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go hiking, or I'm going to go shopping, or any other number of things, because I don't do well with quiet. When there's quiet, I'm constantly thinking and thinking and thinking, and often the thinking turns to worrying. So, I often find myself creating busy work for myself so I can avoid the quiet, i.e. the worry. So it's amazing. It's amazing that you're saying all of this.
And the cycle that we get ourselves into because we know where our mind is going to go. And that's where the meditation comes in, which is great because it does teach you to quiet your mind.
Yeah, it has been absolutely amazing. So tell me, what have been some of the struggles that you've had in building your business? You've got a lot going on, it sounds like, in the trajectory of your life. So tell me about some of the struggles of how you've gotten here. And then I want to talk to you about where you're going in moving forward, because you just dropped the bombshell on us that you're moving, so I can't wait to hear more about that.
So one of my biggest struggles was me getting out of my own way. Overthinking things, making things harder than they needed to be, thinking I needed to do 18 gazillion things because I'm an old program manager and I like lists, just like you. And really, it was more about what is my message and how do I want to help people? And when I gave myself space to do that, rather than filling up my days with all these other things that I really didn't need to be doing yet, I really started to clarify my message and who I'm here to help. And so often we think that as starting a business, we have to have everything perfectly lined up before we launch. And we don't.
Well, I once had a mentor say that if you put something out the first time and you're not a little embarrassed by it, then you waited too long. And I know that that's very counterintuitive to a lot of us, but you don't often know whether or not something is great or mediocre until you get it into the hands of your people and get some feedback. And, it's why a lot of times you're encouraged to launch something as a beta program and let some people experience it and give you feedback or give you testimonials and all that. And I love that you say that because I think it's so important to realize that we don't have to be perfect. We just have to be taking action, and we need to be moving in the direction of where we want to go with our lives.
Yeah. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's all information. The other thing too is because I'm talking about something that's personal and sensitive. It's, am I going to upset family? What are my friends going to think? And at some point we need to just say, you know what? It's not about them. This is about me putting a message out there to help one person at a time.
That's amazing.
Really. And so it was also, that's why I said it was also me getting out of my own way, because I needed to get over that fear of embarrassment and judgment as well. Because in my book, I open the kimono, I talk about the drugs and the alcohol that I consumed to numb my own pain, and I married 2 alcoholics. But there's so many of us who follow that same trajectory. It's now showing them this is what's possible for you. I was just out in Santa Monica, California, and Santa Fe. So I was filming my speaker reel because I'm also launching speaking professionally. And I ran into so many people in different ways that were affected by living with an alcoholic. That I actually have a piece that I submitted for publication elsewhere, and I think it's just waiting to be published. It's, a woman with siblings, another person who actually picks women up from abusive relationships and takes them to a safe place. A gentleman who wrote a book, and in it talks about how his father threw the Thanksgiving turkey against the wall one night because he was so drunk and angry. Another woman whose grandfather was a drunk, who tormented her grandmother and her mother, and immediately was, I hate alcohol. So I talk about these people who had this immediate, almost visceral reaction to the old stories. And that's why I focus on what I do, because as long as we're still triggered by those stories, we're not free to really live life forward. And that's why I focus on the energy work.
I love that. That's amazing. And it's very powerful, because you just described the fact that until we've basically put the past in the past, we're going to keep reliving it.
Right. Because we can run from it. We can try to ignore it. That shadow will always be behind us.
Yes.
Until we turn around and face it. Yeah.
You know, and the more aware you become of yourself, the more you start to notice those patterns and those stories. And it's just tremendously powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, because then you can also recognize when you're being pulled back, because there will always be things that will try to pull you back. Again, my whole thing with control and fear and I made the decision, I'm moving. I haven't done a damn thing about it in the past week. And so it's, and then the risk card, and it's like, all right, okay, fine. I will call the realtor today, and I know what I need to fix up in the house before I go. But it's just understanding sometimes, and more quickly understanding our patterns, so that we can just make a decision to then move forward. Yeah.
So why did you decide to move? Tell us about this journey.
So the mountains have been calling me for a while. I've been in this area for 32 years. I've been in this house for almost 14. And this is the house that my ex-husband and I bought together. As much as I've burned sage and got his things out, there will always be a piece of him here. I'm also kind of craving wide open space. And as soon as I drove up into the mountains, it was like I had this feeling deep within my gut of, this is where you're meant to be. Santa Fe is a beautiful area. It still has the 4 seasons. And when I think about other parts of the country, there really isn't any other place that I want to move. There's also a great energy vortex that runs up from Albuquerque up through Taos. So I'll be close to more energy work. I'm very interested in studying more with Native American Indians. I'll also be close to skiing out west. And yeah, it's time.
I love that. Well, last year, my husband and I left San Diego after being there for 17 years. And he was there for 35 years. And we moved to Vegas, and it was a really good move for us. I have a dear friend who we interviewed for the podcast about a week or so ago, Francisca, who lives in Santa Fe. So I will connect you guys. But she's an awesome, awesome woman business owner and would be a great connection for you.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. And I just, for the couple of days I wandered around, I loved it. And it was really nice. There's so much of New York that's here because I'm on the Jersey Shore. And I like being able to smile and say hi to people and not have them look at you like, well, what do you want? And that's not everyone.
Sure.
But that's so much New York and New England. And I listen, I love it here. I've lived in this area all but 2 years of my life. But I want wide open space and to be able to look up and see the stars and
love it.
Yeah.
So tell me about the worst day that you've had in your business.
Trying to implement somebody else's way of doing things that didn't fit for me.
Okay. That's really interesting. And you know what? That's actually very good and profound, because one of the things that we often tell clients is that just because something worked for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And, right. It's really important, I think, when you're looking for a coach or a mentor, that mentor has done a number of things and they've experienced things a number of different ways. And they're not just telling you, I did it, so you can too.
Right. And I think one of the other things to add to that as well is there may be somebody who's really good from a business like marketing, finance perspective that may not understand the nuances of dealing with something that's really sensitive. And so what they did may work for people who are on the more logical side of a business rather than the energetic. So it's really looking at also the types of things that they've implemented. Wow. Because I have found that to be a little bit of a challenge of, to your point, just because it worked for them. And also looking at where the market is now, because just because it worked for them 10 years ago doesn't even mean it would work for them now.
I say that all the time with my Studio in a Box program. When we launched our first studio in 2008, we were kind of in like the heyday of print media still. And now I would never recommend that a client invest their money in print media. You know, now you can go onto Facebook and you want to say, I want to meet a woman who lives in New Jersey who, you know, is interested in spiritual healing or all these things. And I mean, you can hyper target and you can build a business today in a completely different way.
Yes.
Than we did years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really looking at, you know, and also finding someone who really walks their talk.
So how would you say that you could tell if someone really walked their talk? I think we've all hired a coach or someone in the past where we've been like, I'm a little bummed I did that.
Well, first, I think it's always trust your intuition, because people always very quickly tell us who they are. And then we try to rationalize, well, no, they're not really like that. It's like dating, if you think of it that way. You know, how many times do we get in a relationship where 2 dates in and we knew who the person was, and 6 months later we're like, holy crap. They are exactly who they told me they were. Right. And I just didn't want to see it because I was looking for something else. So what expectations do I have from the other person? Because when I have a lot of expectations, that's when I get into trouble. And then, are they doing the work right alongside you? Have they done the work that they want you to do?
I once had a coach, and I had her for 2 years. She was very, very, very expensive. And the first year she was great for me and my business because I was kind of in a mindset change. I was really changing the direction of my business. But the second year, I really needed someone that specialized in digital marketing. And that wasn't her thing. She had built her entire business from the stage. Right. And I did not want to be a public speaker. That was not part of my goal. And so I once told her, well, you know, I feel like I really need to implement Google ads into my business because I feel like for what I'm selling at the price point I'm selling it, that's where I'm going to find the most qualified prospects. And so she said, well, call Google. And I came home and told my husband, I'm like, I don't think this is a good fit for me anymore because I've now hit this point where I need to do some of these things and she's not doing them or hasn't done them and doesn't really know how. And she was a perfect coach for the first year for where I was then, but I should have recognized that I was going into a very digital marketing heavy space. And she was very transparent about that was not really how she had built her business.
Right.
So yeah, you're completely right that we're kind of looking for reasons to validate or invalidate something.
Right. And sometimes, you know, it may lead us down, it'll lead us down to the path of, to your point, there isn't a fit. I've learned everything I can from this person. Sometimes there's also connections to other people that you gain that you needed to be with them for a while because it's opened up these other amazing doors to these other people. That's why I'm saying it's not right or wrong. It's all information.
Yeah.
And it's taking that step that then opens up the path to other people or other things.
Well, it took me about 5 years to finally find that Google Ads person.
And
I found them through Todd Herman's Base Camp because, like you just said, it's not always just about the coach. It's often about the tribe. And so for me, I went into Base Camp and the first thing I said was, okay, people, I've been trying to do this for years and I've never found the right fit. And one of the girls is like, I know exactly who you need to talk to. And that was over a year ago. And this person is amazing.
That's awesome.
It just takes a little while to kind of find the place that you need to go to get the support that you need to get.
Right. And it's sometimes hard to ask because we sometimes feel like we need to figure it all out ourselves. And this is where we all have our own gifts that we bring. Mm-hmm. And I still work on asking. It's coming.
I think for me, the biggest thing that has helped me with that, because I also have a tremendous challenge asking for help. But what I have found is if I have found the right tribe of like mastermind partners or the right tribe of people that we're all going through coaching together, that the system is set up in such a way to encourage that kind of give and take and help. And those are the best relationships when people are all saying, okay, well, this is where I'm strong. This is where I need some help. And that's one of the things that we do a lot of times at Base Camp is Todd will actually have us write on the board our biggest need or our biggest thing that we think we could offer to someone else. And it takes all of that fear and all that pressure out when you set things up in such a way that people can give and take and make it feel good.
Yes. And I'm in a few groups that are that way as well. So it's fine. And it's finding the right tribe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Where you can exchange and share and also support each other. Because that's one of the things that I used to think this was all about competition, and it's not. There's enough for all of us. Mm-hmm. There really is. So there's, how many billion people in this world? Mm-hmm. There's plenty for all of us. There's no need to feel like I can't share or I can't do this.
And what you just described is, I think, another one of those stories that we've often programmed in our heads that money doesn't grow on trees, there's not enough, or whatever. And so all of these things that I'm not going to say force us, that kind of create the environment where we go through life with a very scarce mentality. Yeah. Where as soon as you really start to look at the world differently and you realize that there is enough for everyone, that how you speak to someone may not be the same way that I speak to someone. So your tribe may be completely different than my tribe. And that's okay, that the right tribe is going to find the right person.
Absolutely. And this is something we're taught early. I mean, in grade school.
Wow. Who got the most gold stars, just all of the things. Anytime you grade on a curve, there are so many different ways that was ingrained into our mindsets. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't always serve us as we become adults, and especially out in the entrepreneurial space. Right. Because this is a small world in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And we either get to help each other and work together and make everyone's life better, or we can tear each other down and make it way harder for everyone.
Right. And I choose the former. I choose to let's help each other because like I said, we all have our own gifts. And there's no reason why we shouldn't all be able to help each other so that we can all succeed. Mm.
Yeah. So tell me, where can our audience find you?
The best place to start is my website, StefaniebMcAuliffe.com, and I think you'll have that in the show notes.
I will.
because from there I've got a link to my Facebook group, which is closed for women who have lived with an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, they can also send me an email and for the time being, grab a free copy of my book.
Awesome.
It'll be available for free for another month or so.
Okay.
And then, because the paperback is on pre-order for July delivery, so somewhere around early June, it'll go into pre-order. And then people can send me a note if they're interested in an oracle card reading.
I love that. I would definitely encourage our listeners to look Stefanie up for that in particular, because I think a lot of times it's just really cool to see what the universe has coming our way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. This was an absolute joy. I'm glad we got to do it a second time. This conversation was completely different than the first time. So I'm even going to have to go and rewrite the show notes. Great. Thank you so much. And I really had a lovely time.
Oh, thank you, Amy. I had a blast as well. This has been awesome.
So we came back and we have decided that we're going to do live on camera an oracle reading. So let's go.
So have you, Amy, ever had an oracle card reading?
Yes, my first business coach would do that. We had quarterly mastermind events, and we had a small group of about 8 of us. And so when each one of us would get up for our mastermind, we always started with a card.
Oh, cool. Okay. So I have 5 decks. I'm going to just move the camera really quickly.
Love it.
So which 2 decks speak to you? It's kind of hard to see them all, but
I would go with the center wisdom hidden realm.
Okay. And number 2.
Let's go with map.
One of my favorites. Okay. So is there something specific you would like more information on? Now, this isn't, they're never yes or no. It's more introspective, informational. And I can help you form your question if you'd like.
So one of the things that is changing in my business is I have spent a lot of time in the fitness niche. And I've done a lot of one-on-one work with people in digital marketing, in business strategy, and that kind of thing. And I am wanting to launch a mastermind and an implementation workshop where we get together for like 3 days and everyone comes in with the work and we actually sit and mastermind and do the work, and I'm here to help support them through that. So that's kind of this place in my life where it's the one piece that I'm just not certain how to take action in making that happen.
Okay. So what more does Amy need to know about creating this fitness mastermind?
So no, this will not be fitness. This will be this will be marketing, and it's business strategy. It's sales funnels. It's copy. It's landing pages, sales pages, all of those things. It's really business strategy as a whole. And I think I will tell you that one of the things that has held me back, one of my stories, is that over the past 8 years, I've spent a lot of time in my business to a point where about a year ago, I was just completely burnt out. And so I ended up taking a few months off my business, and it felt really good to come back, but I'm afraid to take too much on for fear of going back to that place where I am so busy. So I think
the question that's coming to me, because I just got an intuitive hit, is what more does Amy need to know about creating space to create this new mastermind?
I love that. And that I think is tremendously accurate, because I'm trying to determine if I'm going to have to let some of my existing programs go or what I'm going to do because I like my quality of life and I like the fact that I'm not working 24/7 anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Hold the first card.
All right.
Actually, a card I've never pulled before.
Well, I'm then extra excited to hear.
So the first card I pulled is Gaias Garden.
Gaias Garden, okay.
Which is beautiful. And I will read from the book for this. This is about fruition, abundance, and reaping what you sow. So in Gaia's Garden, you have everything you need to make your dreams come true. There's no shortage of anything, and you're constantly reminded of the law of supply. Gaia is the infinite spirit manifest in all tangible things. She represents the abundance of nature. When she comes to you as your ally, she invites you to partake of all the blessings of life. There will always be enough for everyone. Success comes to you from the fruits of your intentions, and all is well with the world as a result. This is also a sign to remind you to give thanks and maintain an attitude of humility and gratitude as your greatest good now manifests for you. Gaia's gifts are sweeter when you share them with others.
I love that.
And the second is coming to life.
Okay.
Which I love this card because he's like coming up out of the dust bowl and just dancing with the energy ball in her hands. And so coming to life is something beautiful is being born in your life. When you look at your life, can you see how you've grown and evolved over time? Perhaps you shed skins and identities and created new ones, or at the very least matured in your ideas about yourself and the world you inhabit. You know things take time, and Spirit's timetable is rarely in sync with your own. This card indicates that a long-held dream is beginning to show signs of life. You must try not to coax it along or shape it according to your desires. Spirit knows the best form for the manifestation of this dream, and your life can become even better than you could possibly imagine. Now is a time for reverence and awe. Allow the contours of your path to be carved by the hands of the divine. All you have to do is show up.
Wow.
So what of these is resonating with you?
Well, the first card was all about abundance. And I said, that is something that I have been working on in my inner being for a pretty extended period of time, but really, really seriously for the past month or two. And being a case of me really trying to break through some of my money mindset that I have to work really, really hard to make sure that the money's coming in. Yep. And that often the money actually shows up when I kind of just take my hands off the wheel and let it go.
Yeah.
And so that's really, I think, what I took from card one is that the world and the universe have it. I just need to stop trying to control it and just let it come. And then I think the second thing is creating life. And the reason I have really wanted to do the mastermind and implementation events is that I keep running into women that they want to build a business, but they don't know how to get started. And they go and they hire a business coach. And as great as a business coach is, you really have to have something that you want to get out of that experience. And like we were just saying, if, in my case, the coach wasn't bad, it was that I needed something different the second time. And I wasn't willing to see that or understand that. And so I really want to create a place where women can come and they not only get the coaching, but they actually get women sitting with them while they're writing the copy, while they're building the landing pages, and that we have the tech support to actually help people implement that, because otherwise a lot of times they just sit and flounder and they want to launch a business, but 6 months and 12 months later, they're really no further than they were because they didn't really know how to get started.
Right. And people just say, go do this. And they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
What really resonated with me with the first card is that there's no shortage of anything. And so if you think that there's not enough time, there won't be enough time. It's amazing when we say to ourselves, I have enough time to get everything done that I need to get done. Time seems to shift and expand and gives us the time to create what we want to create. And so it really is thinking from a space of abundance, which I love that she's just got ferns and all kind of greenery, and it's a very lush landscape that she's in. So sometimes it's just a change of mindset of, instead of saying there's not enough time, because time is one of our most precious commodities, but time is relative and time is a man-made construct, that if we do think that there's enough time to do everything that I want to do, it magically appears.
Wow. So listeners, I hope you gathered just that one nugget, because I will tell you that as we're finishing, this is one of the things that I will absolutely be taking away, because you are 100% right. And it's amazing when you surround yourself with really good people that have really good intentions to help you find your way, how the people magically appear with the message you need to hear.
Right. So it's always, and from the second card, I got that a long-held dream is beginning to show signs of life. And so often, I love how you talked about the concept, and it's the feeling of what it is that you want to create. And the universe is on its own timeline. So you don't know when these things are going to show up.
Right.
But it's still focusing on the essence and the feeling of what you want to create, and how it manifests isn't up to us.
Right. Love it.
Yeah. So I love these cards for you and your vision.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time to do that. And thank you for allowing us to record it. And we will absolutely be adding this to the episode, but it's really important, I think, for people to see that there are really cool people out in the world that want to help us all find our way. And it's really important to go find them.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me read cards for you.
Thank you. This was a joy.
Awesome.
In today's episode, we talked about masterminds and mentors. So if you would like our free checklist on questions to ask before joining a mastermind, please go to the show notes at lemonadepodcast.com.
Thank you for listening to Turning Lemons into Lemonade, where women go for support and encouragement to hear how other women business owners turn their setbacks into successes to create 6- and 7-figure businesses. We look forward to seeing you next week.